Well, hey everybody. Good morning. Looks like we've got Ivan and Craig and Rob and Don and Sergio, Will, Ed, Goose, Joy, Arturo, Diane, Chris, David. Chris, good to see you. You haven't been on here as much. Skaggs, good to see you as always. Ted, Jerry, Caton, Jason, Digger, good to see you. Kay, Cliff, General Rush, good to see you as always, sir. Frank, Nancy, Dan, Gary, Pauline. Welcome, everybody. Check this out right here. Look how close we are. Look how close we are. Man, sometimes I know there's some other people that's just been beating the drum. Buy gold, buy gold, buy gold. Guess what? You bought up here. That's hurting. Whew. Man. There's the path, and kind of moved it over last night, I thought. I guess I didn't save it. Oh, the wrong thing. Grab that. And pull this one over. So there we're looking for that 3150 area. Probably bounce back up, maybe to that 618. And then take the bigger down. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Time-wise, I don't know. Right now, just E-wagging it out through the summer. We'll see what happens. Hey, Rongamer, good to see you. Aki, good to see you. B. Gayton. And, yeah, just lucky. That's it. Gayton, just blind luck. That's all it is, right? Nothing to this ignore the news and watch the chart thing. Can't be. Nothing to it like that. That can't be right? Anyway, sometimes we get lucky, I guess. All trading involves a substantial risk of loss. Past performance, not necessarily indicative of future results. Just because I, got a few things right in the past doesn't mean I'll ever get anything right in the future. This presentation tended to be informational, educational, fun, entertaining. Hopefully you're entertained. And Morning Monster. And it's not a recommendation to buy or sell any financial instrument. If you desire for personal financial advice, hire and consult a financial advisor. And I was making some brew last night, and I dumped all the ice out of the ice maker into it. Thought it was sufficiently cool. Put my little laser temperature thing on it. Said 124. Not thinking that it was shooting through the liquid and measuring some, catching some of the temperature on the liquid, but shooting all the way through to something else. And I was like, all right, 124, that's lower temperature than my plastic fermenter. It's like a limit at 140. So I was like, all right, I can put it in the fermenter. I start dumping this liquid in there, and the fermenter starts moving. I'm like, wait, I've got it pinned between my knees. How's it moving? And I get it half full and realize it is melting. And it's like, a shrinky dink almost. Like it was made out of PET, polyethylene, and it was hot enough it was shrinking as it was warming up. And yeah, so I ruined that fermenter. The liquid was actually 155, which was hotter than 140, so that made a mess. And yeah, so that was a big batch of agave syrup stuff, if you know what agave syrup goes into. That was fun. Yeah. So this week, today, kind of benign, not really much cooking. Right here. Tomorrow, we got retail sales and core PPI. Retail sales. I think this one won't really matter. Probably come in pretty much in line. This one has opportunity to surprise either up or down. We're expecting flat right there. So we'll see what that one does. We'll see. Then Friday, not a whole lot. We get some inflation expectations. This has been absolute nuts. Like, we just got a a surprise lower print on CPI, but look at this expectation thing. Like, this is people, this is a survey. It's not like the government. This is a survey. People have been expecting inflation to go higher than we were. And so far, it's not happening. It's not happening, sweetheart. You know, we got the CPI print yesterday, and as we discussed yesterday, a lot of us kind of think that CPI might be more representative of inflation than PCE that Powell likes, but PCE is personal consumer expenditures. CPI is consumer boom. Consumer price index. Complete brains, like it just went flatline for a second. Sorry about that. Yeah, laser thermometer, not the best for hot liquid. Well, it's for clear hot liquid. If I measured the outside temperature of the vessel, it probably would have worked. But anyway. Yeah, that was fun. I was just, little, I didn't have any pictures or anything because, I don't know. A lot of times when I'm making stuff, I don't take pictures. So when I remember to take pictures, I post them. Anyway, so that's what we're cooking with right there for this week. Now, record shorts. Let's talk about that really quickly. I brought some charts. I brought some stuff. The name of the video, record shorts, right? So coming into this, we had this out. Here's the U.S. fundamental long-short ratio. We were pushing it down pretty severely. Had come up off the lows a little bit. The prime book, this one's interesting. Prime book has been buying like crazy. Look at this. One of the highest buys since back here in COVID time, or right near COVID times. I wish they had gone back to COVID times, but I don't know. We had a lot of strong buying there into the end of 23. Getting that same kind of move. If we look at the chart for what happened at the end of 23. See what we had right here? And then we shot back out. So look at some more of these. Yeah, here's short covering right here. Single stock, prime book. Prime book is like hedge funds and stuff like that. These charts come from trading desks that, big banks and stuff like that. So got big clients. It's relatively an outlier right there. It's people getting back here, 23. If we go look at that right at the beginning of 23. We had this right here coming out of that low. We pulled back and shot off. So potentially we have at least a temporary bottom in place. We may go revisit some lows as all these stops get cleared out. It's kind of what happens sometimes. And this is one more chart. There was record shorting by others. That's usually not the trading desks right there. This is S&P 500 futures and other gross long change. That's not necessarily shorting, but that's closing longs is how I read that right there. I think we're closing longs because look at what happened out of COVID. Big buy and then big sell. And we had a buy right here. And then I think we're seeing people closing out their longs. I suspect that's what's happening. That was people buying the dip and then closing them out. So when we look at the S&P, this is future. That was futures. I pay attention to futures all the time, as you know. So we're seeing as we climb higher, that big, $35 billion worth of sells on S&P futures. Checking in with our handy dandy market gauges, I guess you might say. Oscillator gauges. This one's been fully cooked for a little while now. And we've been up here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 days. 2 weeks at the top. That is ripe for at least a pullback, if not returning to the lows. We don't typically hang out this long. I mean, this is one of the longer periods where we're hanging out. You can see right here, this one was pretty long too. On 23, coming off the lows. This, ties in. We already talked about that period. That was 33 bars. So we could hang for a little bit longer. But then we get a pullback. So that's stocks above the 20-day moving average on the S&P 500. There we go. Market's starting to open. Getting a little bit of positive. S5 FI. This is, to me, the scary part. Like, maybe if we push this up here by Friday on the OPEX, the options expiration on Friday, that sets up 2 out of the 3 ripe for a large pullback. Number 3, of course, stocks above their 200-day moving average. And we're just hanging with the homies right in the middle. Right there. That still has room to go higher, but we don't typically just push it higher when these other 2 are maxed out. So, time to keep an eye on those. These are starting to say caution, caution, caution. Instead of all being at the bottom, all saying get ready for a rip. Now we're getting caution and, caution on this one and caution, almost caution on this one. And yeah, that one's still A-okay. Look at the overnight action, not really telling us very much. Just squiggling, 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 squiggling. Not really pushing higher. Then we made that high yesterday. Be careful. We're hunting a top. That's what this looks like to me. I don't see a big catalyst to pushing even higher. That one did make a little higher poke right there this morning. It seems that we are hunting a top, and that looks like a little baby 1, 2, 3, 4, and we could get one more push higher. Just be careful out there. Russell already setting up some bearish stuff here. This is not rallying back up. We did poke into the bottom of the danger zone here. It could possibly rally on up to 2180, but that's why I bought the put spread out to September. Oil, checking her out, checking her out, checking her out. Still grinding that low from May of 23. Still grinding it. Now, the risk here, the longer we hold below that and just kind of grind right here, kind of like this, we risk getting another big pullback. And more grind right here, risk. And this, as I've said for a couple of weeks now, would look best with one more lower low, possibly down in the low 50s, right there. GC, we started here. Probably going down that 3150 area. Probably. That's kind of the rough path I expect over the coming months. Could go faster. We could just flush this mofo out right now. While it's not my expectation, it is entirely possible that we just go down here and do that now. Somewhere in that 27 to 2900 area. It's possible. I mean, It can do it. There's no reason it can't. I, kind of think this would be more conducive to getting down to the low levels we need to go higher again, but doesn't have to do that. Could just take it. Could just fall out of the bunk bed and hit the floor. Bitcoin grinding right here in this resistance right at 105. We ground that resistance before. Are we going to pop through, or are we going to get one more pullback? We've obviously hit some resistance. This one was a grind. I thought we were going to pull back, and we popped to the next level. This one's a grind. Do we pull back, or do we just pop on up to the next level? 115, 120, those are the next levels up. That's 115,000, 120,000 per Bitcoin. People said it wasn't going to happen. And we're seeing Ethereum sitting right here at that big 618 level. And just, stuck in between the roadmap line and that 618 level right there. Grinding, grinding, grinding. Of course, it can also pull back. It can also pull back. See, this level's been, you look across here, it's been a support resistance line. Support, support, support. Resistance, resistance, resistance. Resistance over here. A little bit of support resistance, and now we're right there again. It would look best if we did a little pullback and just rip through. That would give me more confidence that we're going higher in the short term here. NKD, I was warning, if we see this pop back out of this box, probably going down here. In fact, I'm going to set an alert right here now. I would love to see this hold, bust out the top, go to new all-time highs, but just got this sinking feeling, suspicion that we're going to take a little trip back down before we can go up. Just got this feeling. I got a feeling. Ooh, ooh. Dollar couldn't maintain the pop. Brought it right back down. Probably on a quest to go meet the roadmap line on the daily at some point here. It could just be out here in July, August. Kind of corresponds with possibly gold going down a little bit. Yeah, I mean, another interesting charts. Check this out. Take US dollars out of the equation. Bitcoin's priced in gold. If you didn't know you could do this in TradingView, welcome to the party here. You can take any ticker and do math on it. You just click on this. I took the Bitcoin futures and the gold futures, divide them together. That cancels out dollars. So this is Bitcoin, ounces of gold per Bitcoin. Right now we're sitting at 35. If we bust through, we can see this ramp on up in here. Possibly even higher. Then you look at the bigger picture. There's a possibility. I'm not saying it's likely or not. That level 55 right up there. It's got multiple confluence. And then there's possibility, not saying it's going to happen, to go all the way up to 95. Now, how would that happen? Bitcoin would have to go up a lot. Or gold go down a lot. Or both. This is already foretelling that Bitcoin is going to climb even higher on a ounces of gold basis. That ties into this right here. Gold sitting at $21 trillion and Bitcoin sitting at $2 trillion. the ratio, this roughly, slightly less than 10% of the value of gold, we could see this gap narrow quite substantially. We could see Bitcoin potentially overtaking Microsoft and becoming the number 2 asset in the world under gold. That's kind of interesting. I talked about after the halving that Bitcoin underwent something that we've never seen in the history of the world, in that the gold is mined, right? Like people mine gold. You can watch Gold Rush Alaska, Gold Rush on Discovery Channel. There's, people mine gold. There's businesses that mine them. AEM, Barrick Mining, NEM. We have Newmont Mining. We have tons of companies that mine gold for a living. We have quite a few companies. Oh, that's cool. We have quite a few companies that mine Bitcoin for a living also. But there's a key difference. The more people that look for gold, the more gold that's found. The more people that look for Bitcoin, the rate of Bitcoin mining stays the same, relatively. So during the last halving last year, a key thing, a key switch flipped, in that the rate of creation of Bitcoin is now slower than the rate we find gold and add it to the economy. So this is somewhat deflationary in Bitcoin, plus the fact that we have people like MicroStrategy buying up Bitcoin on a regular basis. We have governments buying it up on a regular basis, like El Salvador. And gold, the higher the price goes, the more people, it's one of those things. The higher the price of gold, the more people get interested in going to find gold, going to get some gold. And this price is a little bit outdated. But the higher the price, the cure for high prices on commodities is high prices in commodities. The higher the price, the more people go find it. The more people find it, the lower the price tends to go on commodities. It works for gold, it works for oil, it works for copper, it works for palladium, it works for platinum, and it works for corn. Basically any resource that humans want to produce. The higher the prices, the more people go do that to try to make money, and then it, supply and demand. When supply increases, pushes the price down. Bitcoin, on the other hand, the supply coming into the market is fixed. And I don't actually have this is the website I usually use to check it out. It's pretty much controlled. Like every 2 weeks, we adjust the rate that blocks are able to be produced. It's going to adjust again in about 3 days. And we've been running ahead. And we're going to ramp the difficulty. And it's going to get harder to mine Bitcoin. So the more people that participate, when Bitcoin prices go up and more people participate, the harder it gets to find Bitcoins. Like there's nothing else. There's no other resource like that on the planet. Creates an interesting situation. Like, can this eclipse gold in value? I'm not saying it will, I'm not saying it won't. Just looking at the charts, it says the ratio between them is going to narrow. Looking at the Mag 7s. I mean, you could pairs trade them. Short gold, long Bitcoin. I mean, if you wanted to. Yeah, you can do that with other commodities too. You can do it, gold oil ratio. You can do Bitcoin oil ratio. If you think we're in a petrodollar and Bitcoin dollar, eliminate dollars, go to Bitcoin petro. How would you do that? You just go BTC 1 exclamation point divided by CL 1 exclamation point. Bitcoin oil is sitting up here already at near highs. So if you think oil is the more important, and we can see this go up to, right now we're at 1,655 barrels per Bitcoin. See this ramp on up to 3175. Interesting statistics, I think. Looking back at Apple pushing higher. We've still got the resistance just above us here. This could grind on up. You know, we could see this pop on up here by Friday, and that support the bigger pullback potential. Amazon, it's just kind of stuck right here, right in that resistance box. Revisit to the roadmap line at the minimum. Lower low would look best on Amazon. Google consolidating under the roadmap line, not even showing strength like Apple. Despite all the huge, crazy, big earnings, Apple reporting that they're seeing less usage of Google search on their phones. That got that big slam right there. Bottom line, though, Google's chart is actually bullish for a breakout up here. It's kind of wild. Meta, as we talked about, that can easily double from where we are, especially from where we were at 486. Easily double right up in here at the targets. Easily. And it's basically set up the upside target at 793 right now. Microsoft has pushed on up and is trying to get through this resistance. If we can do that, 489 becomes the target. NVIDIA pushing up to the top of the box. This does tilt the odds. We're probably going to see 165. But at the same time, there is a large risk that we get a pullback. Could retest this trend line. Could go all the way back to the bottom even. Be very careful here. This is starting to meet some proportions that we could see an outsized correction take hold again. Right in this danger zone where this first move up and the second move up are right in a proportion where we can see continuation right back down. That would hurt because $40 move is $1 trillion. All right, this was, from here to here, we've already seen more than $1 trillion flow back into NVIDIA. Well, we saw more than $1 trillion flow back out, and that's going to be close to $60 right there of downside we could potentially see. That's like $1.5 trillion worth of market cap that could flow out of NVIDIA really quickly. Tesla into the danger zone. I was expecting we climb on up to 380 before we see a big reaction here. Be careful. Do expect some sort of larger reaction here. But it may not happen. We may just keep ripping. Could just keep ripping. SE. I go pull the gainers. This is things moving up $2 or more. Put them on the gainers list. I pull the decliners, things moving down $2 or more. And then I also have some setups that we could talk about. I got 9 of those this morning. It's set up this morning, or set up last night. Yesterday's close triggered the market roadmap setup. And that's where we see price do this right here. We are in an uptrend. We pull back, hit that roadmap line, start moving up. We get the close above the 618. That triggers the high probability target and move up to the 1448 right there. 75% likely across 56,000 trades right there. It just works. All right, the stop would be $1 below the low. So 75% of the time we go up to the 1448 before we go down to $1 below the low. That's what those numbers mean. That one hitting targets. Probably time to consider booking. I'm not sure if I expect it to get through this resistance on this attempt right here. Pretty substantial resistance formed from these highs back here. It's been grinding that area pretty good. I kind of expect another pullback there. Checking out some more. Let's see. We got FSLR. That's been working on this large reversal off of this support. We ground that support pretty good. Potential to take this back higher. Very nice at this point. Let's pull this down to the low. I should probably save some of these charts so that I don't have to redraw this stuff every time. That never worked out. So we do have, it's funny to me, funny peculiar. Look where that 618 is sitting right in the middle of this consolidation when we made an all-time high. We pulled back and we were just gap right through it, went up, made a higher high, came back down, bounced off that zone, bounced through it, retested it, came down, made this low and established this 618 that just happens to be almost perfectly right in the middle of all that consolidation. Right there. Just wild to me. And I would expect some kind of reaction off of it before we can get through it. Could just gap right on through, but it's not usually the way it works. Not usually. MSTR having a lot of trouble pushing through this zone. It did tip the odds that we're going on up to at least 600, if not higher, possibly 1,000. But when you take these numbers and you apply them to MSTX, we're going to see a lower high probably. Even with the move up to like 1,000, probably a lower high on MSTX. It did some real damage on that last correction. HCW looks like a nasty chart with the dumpster fire setup. That's a reverse split. I would not touch this with your money or my money, my mom's money, anybody's money. On Simi, setting up the move to 69.90. FedEx under support, and which is now resistance. So we're looking down for FedEx. LC on the same story, looking lower. Connell coming up into this is the first test here, which we go look at coin, and which is the underlying, and it's testing right here. If we can get on through, we have set the move up 396 right there. I would expect a little retrace, but 396. Restoration Hardware. We already did the downside here. We tagged, look at that. We tagged that level. Beautiful. Restoration Hardware is potentially done on the downside, and we could get a large upside. That wraps up that potential correction. Nice fast move. There's potential for one more little dip. But at this point, we could be looking at the next target up here. Restoration Hardware. And we're talking about potential years-long upside there. ETHU. Resistance coming up at the roadmap line. Bulls is leveraged. PTIRs were leveraged. STRK, it's MicroStrategy. Preferred stock. BKKT. Resistance at the roadmap line here. We can push on through. See it. Let me see what investors claim on behalf of investors of big law firm runs losses on their investment. Class action lawsuit. Blah blah blah. People get a little freaked out by these when they see them, but almost every stock, publicly listed stock, has some sort of investor lawsuit because they don't agree with whatever bull crap. And it's just a part of public companies. Reverse split, ridiculous. Dumpster fire. Like I said, MSTX probably going to underperform MSTR, at least on a dollar. I mean, on a percent wise, it'll, from these lows, it's going to come back up here, but it's not going to go higher high. So we're going to see MSTR go on up to new highs, and this one probably going to make lower highs. That's why leverage is extremely dangerous on the long term. BitX, I do still expect this one to rally on up into this zone if we can get Bitcoin to breaking on out. Decker outdoors coming up into the resistance there. UNH, we saw potential bottoming, at least temporarily. We could go a little lower, but that thing crazy. Elevance, also hunting a new low. Cyber. It seems like yesterday's list. Let's double check. Yeah, I think that was yesterday's list. NOC. There we go. Declining. GLD. Declining. LOLR. Declining. DXYZ. Yeah, we got some different gainers here. Baba. Be careful. That one's set up for a move lower. Let's check some of these setups down here. EE. Got the high. We've got the low. Kicking it off. 34. So it was actually grabbing that high up there and that low right down there. Not exponential. Very close. Splitting hairs here. There you go. That's the entry 34.40 target. The statistics on that one don't matter. Fox. This one also has a very nice looking setup. 56.82. Statistics also don't matter. Fox A. Why do the statistics if they don't matter? This number is the first one to look at right here. If we don't have bigger than a 30 right there, then these numbers don't really matter. Right there. So Fox A, 60 on the upside. HE, Hurricane Electric, 1232. NEXT. There's the high, there's the low, there's the entry, and the target is 1035. Lots of low price potentials here. Roku. No, that's going to be a little baby. The little baby move right here. Potential for 86.70 if it can get the follow through. I'm not sure it will. Just based on my years of doing this. And that one way too long. The algorithm on Discord picked up that one right there with that 1963 target. VSAT. I wouldn't touch that. That is a downtrend, downtrend, downtrend. Look at all those failures. It might spike that 1262, but it's probably on the way down. I don't like to try to counter trend. And this one also downtrend. I don't like to try to counter trend. It actually picked up that high right there. And yeah, 1190. But like I said, I don't like the counter trend. Checking out some more of the decliners. Toyota. Back to the roadmap line. ALC. Back to the roadmap. Oh yeah, back to the roadmap line. That might go lower. Dava. Making lower lows. Broke down below. So IPOs start out in a bearish pattern, even though this one did the bubble pattern here. This is classic bubble pattern. Look at this. Chop and came all the way back down. If you've never seen this bubble pattern before, check it out right there. Classic. Classic, classic, classic. And a lot of times we can see it go lower after this crazy pattern plays out. But then we can go higher again. Look at that. That's almost a textbook example right there. Holy moly. Golly. So it surprises me sometimes to see these. anyway, that one played out. Got the lower low. IPOs start out bearish, and like 95% of the time we see a major lower low than the IPO. There's still 5% of companies that just, start out bullish and go, but like you have to think about it. 95% of them or so end up making a big substantial lower low. And I can pull up dozens of examples. Ones that start out and go exponential have a high likelihood to come back down, and it may take years to do, which this one did take like 6 years to do this. So it's not always you can't necessarily stay solvent through the crazy, but eventually the crazy runs out and we come back down. AEM coming back down to the roadmap line quickly. AU probably got to come back down to the roadmap quickly. Checking out some of the other ones that we didn't see because of before. New text. I would not play with this. Reverse splits in here. It was never these kind of prices. These reverse splits that are back in here push those prior prices up. It's like a 500x on prior prices, and then add on to it a 15x and another 10x. That's a big multiplier on these prior prices. So that was never that high. UNH potentially making a bottom. Elevance, SMCI, back above the roadmap line. But that's another one of those bubble pattern situations. Be careful. I'm still expecting this to finish up. Coming on down. GE Veranova. Target's up there for 76. Humana. I do expect this one to dip just a little lower. AppLovin into the resistance. AMD into the resistance. PVH into the resistance. Got a lot of things set up for a potential pullback here. KKR set up for a pullback. SC Limited we talked about already, hitting the targets. ANET. Be careful, we're in a danger zone. PLTR. Almost to the targets. So close. XCL hit the target. TEM at that resistance if we can bust through. 98. HIMS pushing on up a little bit. Now, we need to be a little cautious here. We could get a pullback. I might jump off my leverage. I'm in the HIMS with a Z. I got a swift move up into that area right there. I was looking for at least 66. But it might be a good time to step off that. That might get a pullback right there. A-Lab. Resistance right up here at 115. All right. Getting lower low. Lowest low on ES, unlikely to happen. Because lowest low on ES is going to have to be like, it'd be a candle like this tomorrow. To get that, or Friday, to get some kind of lowest low situation. Just making a red candle here, probably not very indicative that we're going lower. Since we started out, way down here, and we've ramped up. Monday would be a pretty hefty candle that we'd have to get something closed down below the danger zone, basically. And that'd be a pretty strong indication we're going on down, but I don't think we can. It's not likely to put that one in play this week. Just commenting. All right, everybody. It's kind of the list. Expectation for the day. Cautious. We can grind here through Friday. Not expecting big moves either way unless something crazy happens. Do have that retail sales and PPI tomorrow. Could push this up a little bit more. We, as I talked about, I guess it was yesterday morning, maybe 2 days back. We have this move set up in here. Pull that on down to the low. We might tag that 59.30 area right there. Got really close. Might need to tag that fib line before we at least retrace back to the roadmap line and then the bigger pullback back to the 618, which we gotta pull this. Gotta pull this fib line back up to the top there. Puts that potential pullback back down in here in the 52.60 area for an ideal pullback. 5,000 for a really spicy pullback, and 53.84 as a minimum need to go higher. Right there. I think we may hold off till next week to start this. Why? Because of OPEX right there. And Memorial Day, market closed. So we've got a nice full week next week and a holiday week right there. Thank you to all the people that served. Put some of your life into the heart and blood of America. GME crossing 29. Come on. If this can break above that 30, I'm looking for that 36 right there. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Be safe out there. Be careful. The account you save may be your own. Nobody's watching out for your money more than you are. If you think somebody is, got some swampland in Alaska, I can sell you. Have a great day. We'll talk to you later.